Census. We have the right to count beds. She barked as the red plastic grip of a maintenance key slid into my cabin door like my lock was her property. I felt my stomach drop faster than the latch clicked. Who does that? Who walks into someone else's home, claiming authority like it's a warped board game where the rules change every time the person in charge gets bored? Before we go further, a quick ask from me to you. What would you do if someone tried to open your door with a red key and called an inspection? Drop your answer in the comments. Hit like if you believe in homeowners' rights and privacy, and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss what comes next. This isn't just a story about one cabin. It's about accountability, HOA abuse of power, and what it takes to stand your ground when someone decides your front door is optional. The night this all started, the cabin smelled like cedar and wet leaves. Autumn rain had been hanging in the trees all day, a damp hush over everything. I just finished tightening the hinge on the front door, the squeak that used to scream old house every time the wind moved right. I was thinking I'd earned a beer, admiring the porch lights spreading a warm yellow haze across the deck, when I heard the steps. Not a neighbor's casual shuffle or a delivery driver's polite crunch on gravel. Heavy, purposeful, aggressive, the sound of someone marching into a confrontation they'd rehearsed in their head all day. 3 sharp knocks echoed across the clearing. I wiped my hands on my jeans and took a breath. That's when I heard it, the clean, confident slide of a key into my lock. Not the clumsy rattle of a stranger trying their luck. A smooth insertion and a sure turn, like the person outside had done this dozens of times. I reached for the handle as the door started to swing. And there she was, Diana Sloan, president of our homeowners association, holding a red tag maintenance key like a hall pass to every house on the mountain. She didn't even look surprised to see me. Irritated, if anything, as if I were the one in the wrong for being home. Census, she said, stepping forward like the doorframe was a suggestion. We have a right to count beds to fight short-term rentals. I braced a palm against the frame, not slamming the door, but making it very clear this wasn't an open house. This is private property, I said evenly. Step back to the porch. She didn't. She craned her neck, trying to peer past me into the kitchen. The old bulb with its yellowed filament threw soft light onto her glasses, and I could see the kitchen reflected there, my own lamp giving away just how far she thought her jurisdiction reached. The HOA has authority to inspect for violations, she insisted. We've had reports of excessive occupancy. Reports? I almost laughed. I live here alone most of the week. My wife, Erin, comes up on weekends. That's 2 people, Diana. Hardly a nightclub. I'm a journalist by trade. I've learned the hard way that trespassers make better evidence than arguments. My hand was shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline, because when someone crosses a line that boldly, your brain has to catch up to what your eyes already know. I kept my phone steady and the camera rolling. The lens captured her red key, her posture, the way she tried to shoulder past me while pretending this was all perfectly legal. Counting beds, I asked with a dry smile. This is a cabin, not a dorm room. She did not appreciate the humor. She started rattling off HOA bylaws. Section this, amendment that, comparing her plan to residential census and dorm inspections, and adding that the association could enforce short-term rental rules by any means necessary. Those were her exact words. Any means necessary. Like she was leading a paramilitary unit instead of chairing a board meeting over coffee and stale bagels. My door app buzzed my wrist. The notification blinked on my phone. Door opened quietly. Not the impact alert I'd get if someone pushed the door. Not the noisy jostle of a broken latch. The reading you see when a latch retracts smoothly when it opens with a key. The message hung there on the screen like a signature. Across the lane, my neighbor Rebecca watched from her window. She's an accountant, the kind who can find a decimal out of place from across the room. Even from a distance, her expression said she knew something was off. Diana's confidence was the strangest part. Not the rudeness. Not the bizarre justification. The casual certainty. As if sliding a key into someone's home were just another Tuesday job. Skin the path lights, water the HOA, approve landscaping, let yourself in account beds, and take a victory lap for community standards. I let her talk. kept the camera steady, let her keep digging. She mentioned her property management experience, how she knew all the tricks renters used, how she could spot an illegal short-term rental from a mile away. Which was funny, if you like bitter jokes, because I'd owned this place for 7 years and never rented it out. Not once. Not even to friends. This was my retreat, my writing space, my quiet place. The idea that this kitchen could be mistaken for an Airbnb made something hot and quiet coil in my chest. Erin, my wife, was in the kitchen. She's a deputy sheriff. She stayed out of view. At first, she knows where lines are drawn and what it means when someone steps over them. And she knows to wait until the right moment to show a badge. Diana finally noticed the camera. Her eyes flicked to the lens, then back to me, and I watched the calculation happen in real time. She decided to double down. If you're not doing anything wrong, she said, you shouldn't mind an inspection. Classic manipulator logic. Shift the burden, turn the victim into the suspect, make resistance look suspicious. The door stood bare between us, hinge newly silent, her manicured hand resting on the edge like she might shove at any second. The other hand gripped that red key, knuckles whitening. Her perfume, too floral for a neighborly visit, mixed with the cedar and the rain, and I understood. This wasn't about bed counts. This was about power, control. An HOA president so used to her authority that she'd forgotten where HOA rules ended and criminal law began. I stayed planted. The phone screen glowed faintly in the yellow kitchen light. There was in cold text. Door opened quietly. Latch sensor retracted. No impact alert. Clean entry with a working key. 20-second clip recording. Metadata automatically logged. Evidence. Something in my face must have told her the momentum had shifted. She took a single step back. Just one, but it was the first retreat of the night. This isn't over, she said, turning on her heel. The board will hear about your lack of cooperation. I almost asked whether the board knew she was breaking into houses with construction keys. But sometimes silence says more. I watched her walk away. Then I closed the door slowly, deliberately, and felt the latch catch. The hinge didn't squeak. A small victory in a night that had gone sideways fast. The victory lasted exactly 2 minutes. The phone buzzed again. Not the door app this time. A blast email arrived from the HOA account, sent to the entire neighborhood. Subject line, STR violator exposed. Unit 47. My address, my name. I opened it and felt my stomach pitch. Interior photos. My kitchen counter. My bedroom doorway. Angles that could only be shot from inside. Not through glass. Not by catching a reflection. Inside. The metadata would prove it. The perspective alone did. The yellow kitchen bulb showed in one shot, reflected off something metallic. Maybe her glasses, maybe the red key. Either way, proof. She'd been here before tonight. Probably more than once. Quiet key. Quiet entry. Quiet violation. Erin stepped out of the kitchen then. She'd been reading the same email on her phone. The patience was gone from her face, replaced by that professional calm I've seen when she's about to lay out charges. That's breaking and entering, she said. Multiple counts. The cabin fell quiet except for the soft ping of neighbors' replies stacking up. Confused. Curious. Some already convinced by Diana's narrative. Some skeptical. The electronic version of heads turning in a small town. We document, Erin said simply. Timeline. Proof. Witnesses. I'll loop in Owens. He won't shrug this off as HOA drama. We set up shop at the kitchen table under that same yellow bulb. Papers spread across the wood. Laptops open. Door app logs on one screen. The HOA email photos on another. Rebecca came over, reading glasses perched low. She studied the photos with the focus of someone auditing a company that thinks it's too clever to get caught. Angles don't lie, she said. This wasn't taken from outside. She zoomed in on the edge of a frame. That's your lamp reflecting 6 feet inside. Through glass, you'd get glare and distortion. This person was standing right there. Metadata hid in every digital file. Timestamps, GPS, device IDs. October 3rd, she said, pointing 2:15 p.m. I checked my calendar. I was in the city that day. I hadn't returned until Friday. Bedroom shot, she continued, voice steady but edged. Reflection of the hallway light behind the photographer. That yellow glow again. My stomach turned. The old bulb was testifying from every angle. See these navy mugs? She zoomed in on the counter. That lightning glaze pattern is only visible close up. Someone was inches from your cup. We backed up everything, video, photos, logs, to cloud, to hard drive, to email. Chain of custody, Aaron called it. No lost files. No technical issues. No room to wriggle. While we worked, my phone lit up with texts. A neighbor down the lane. She did this to me last year. Let herself in while I was at work. Said she was checking for water damage. I thought my door was unlocked. It wasn't. Red key. Another from a north side. I checked my camera. August 14th, 2:30 p.m. She walked right in. Stayed 20 minutes. I thought I was losing my mind. A pattern emerged. Not a one-off power trip. A system. Tuesdays and Thursdays mid-afternoon, just like Diana had bragged. Quiet entries. Photos snapped. Complaints filed. Fines levied. Malicious lien filings weaponized. The next morning we went to Tom, the locksmith. His shop smelled like machine oil and fresh-cut brass, little metal mountains of key blanks bristling on hooks. Officer Jared Owens stood by the workbench, duty belt creaking as he shifted, watching Tom set up a demo cylinder, the same brand and keyway as my front door. Builders use construction pass keys during development. Tom explained, holding up a silver master marked with a tiny stamp. When you take possession, you're supposed to reset the lock to your unique key. If you don't, the construction master still works. It's like leaving your Wi-Fi password as 123456. Guilt flared hot on my face. 7 years ago, I admitted, the builder gave me a binder. I used it as a laptop stand. Then it went into a closet. Tom nodded like he'd heard that confession 100 times. Most folks do, he said. Don't beat yourself up too much. But it does mean anyone with that master could still get in. He slid the silver key into the demo lock. Smooth rotation. Quick click. Owens took photos of every step, documenting the process for later testimony. If she worked in property management, Owens asked, would she have access to these masters? Tom shrugged. If she's sloppy or entitled, sure. I've seen rings of them hanging on pegboards in management offices. Easy to copy. Easy to keep. Not exactly Fort Knox. Tom showed us how to reset a lock correctly. 30 seconds of twisting and reassembling, and then handed the silver master back to Owens. It wouldn't turn anymore. Proof that what should have been done years ago would have kept Diana on the porch where she belonged. Owens' radio crackled. He stepped outside to take a call. Tom glanced at my phone. Scroll your door app, he suggested. Look for quiet opens on weekdays. You know you were gone. There they were. 5 entries in the last year. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mid-afternoon. Quiet latch readings that I dismissed as sensor glitches. The pattern landed in my chest like a stone. Owens came back in with news that fell like a punch. She filed a lien on your property, he said. $3, $500 in HOA fines. And she lodged a complaint with the county building department. Unpermitted modifications, commercial rental conversion. All false. But they create paperwork, investigations, headaches, filing malicious liens, abuse of process, harassment disguised as policy. It was the predictable escalation. Use every tool of office to punish resistance. Then we fight back the right way, Aaron said. Document. Build the case. We'll go talk to the county about your file. And we gather witnesses. Back at the cabin, Rebecca had an idea. She set up a small recorder on her coffee table. She checked the state statute twice. One-party consent for recordings. No need for a script. Just a professional voice and the kind of prompt that makes officious people brag. People love talking to insurance reps, she said. It makes them feel important. And they brag. She called on a line that masks outgoing numbers. Good afternoon, Mrs. Sloan. This is Jennifer Martinez from Consolidated HOA Insurance Services. We're conducting our annual risk reduction assessment. Diana's tone brightened instantly. Of course, she said. We take security very seriously. I'd love to understand your inspection and compliance process, Rebecca said, especially how you identify interior violations. We use master keys from construction, Diana replied, matter of fact, as if she were explaining how to change a light bulb. A ring that opens the north section. Efficient for emergencies and compliance. My heart tripped. She said it. On tape. So these are keys retained from development? Rebecca asked, keeping her voice level. Exactly. Red tag maintenance keys. They open the whole north row. Very smart management. And how often are these reviews conducted? Bi-weekly. Tuesdays and Thursdays. When working residents are away, it's more efficient. No need to schedule or deal with objections. Our bylaws grant broad authority. 17 minutes. Every answer another nail. Not a trap, not tricky questions. Just a woman who believed that her title was a shield. We sent the audio to Owens. He whistled through his teeth when he finished the transcript. Conspiracy to commit burglary, he said. Pattern of behavior. This is better than I hoped. While we were still processing the surge of adrenaline that comes when someone hands you their confession, Margaret called. She lives in the south section. She's on my porch, Margaret said, voice tight. Says the insurance company needs updated documentation. She's putting a red key in my lock. Stay inside, Rebecca said. Don't engage. Owens was already moving. Units on the way, he said. Tell her to announce, loud, that she does not consent. I drove over. When I pulled up, lights flashed blue and red against the tree line. Diana stood in Margaret's doorway, hand on the knob, red key glinting. Margaret's voice carried from inside. I do not consent to your entry. Leave my property. Owen stepped out of his patrol car. Mrs. Sloan, he called. Step away from the door. I'm conducting HOA business, she shot back. This resident is refusing compliance verification. Officer, you need to explain to her about association authority. Ma'am, Owen said, using a key to enter someone's home without permission is criminal trespass. Step away now. If you were there, you would have seen the calculation. She moved her hand a fraction, like she might push that last inch. And then she did it. She pushed. Owens moved faster. You're under detention for investigation of criminal trespass, he said, taking her wrist and easing her back onto the porch. He didn't throw cuffs on her then. He collected the red key ring as evidence. 12 keys, 12 doors, 12 lives she believed were accessible whenever she pleased. Margaret came to the threshold. I want to press charges, she said. This is the second time. We recorded. Not to humiliate. To protect the record. To make sure the story would not be rewritten later as simple misunderstanding. Owen's radio murmured. He stepped aside, listening, then came back with a change in his posture. Judge signed the warrants, he told us. Search in the morning. Keys. Records. Anything that shows a systematic operation. Word spread quickly. The next morning, the HOA emergency meeting notice popped up in my inbox. Topic: Resident compliance issues and association security. Translation: a public flogging dressed as governance. But Diana had a different stage set for her performance. She tried one last flex at the community mailbox area early that day. Her BMW skidded into the lot, tires hissing on wet pavement. She marched toward me, eyes blazing. You think you're clever, she hissed, stopping 3 feet away so I could smell her coffee. My phone was visible, recording. I'll bury you in legal fees, she threatened. You and your wife are defaming me. I didn't take the bait. Neighbors gathered, drawn by volume and the scent of scandal. You filed false county complaints, I said. Trespassed in homes. Used unauthorized keys. Those aren't lies, Diana. Those are crimes. She jabbed the air with her phone. The HOA has full oversight. Our bylaws. Bylaws don't override the law, Rebecca said, stepping close. And one-party consent means your call yesterday is admissible. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. I held up my screen, video of Diana sliding the red key into my lock, the audio transcript of her insurance brag, the still of Owens detaining her at Margaret's door. Some neighbors gasped, others went red. One man held up his own footage, August 14th, 2:30 p.m., red key, smooth entry, 20 minutes, no emergency. How did you take photos inside our homes? Someone asked. The question was simple enough to snap the last thread of her narrative. The crowd murmured, not angry yet, but heading there. Scheduled audits, she lied quickly. with proper notice. It was thin as mist. Owens arrived again, not with lights this time, but with witness forms and patience. "Folks," he said calmly, "if you've experienced unauthorized entry, I need your statements." People lined up. The story was no longer just mine. The next morning, Diana came to my porch again, this time with a man in a shiny, ill-fitting suit and an expensive briefcase. "Mr. Carter," she announced, smiling too wide, "I'm here with HOA legal counsel to serve you an official compliance order. You're required to submit to immediate inspection." The man with her nodded, trying for gravitas. "I'm Marcus Sloan," he said. Her cousin, as it turned out. "Association counsel. Bar number?" I asked. "That's not necessary for HOA representation," he hedged. "Translation, not a lawyer." Diana put her red key into my lock and pushed. Nothing. Tom had rekeyed yesterday. The master was dead. She jiggled harder. Her smile cracked. "You changed the locks," she snapped. "That's destruction of HOA property." "Actually," I said almost gently, "I reset the builder's master key system like I was supposed to do 7 years ago." Aaron stepped into the doorway, uniform on, badge gleaming. "Diana Sloan," she said, voice clear as the cold air. "We have a warrant for criminal trespass, possession of burglary tools, forgery, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Step back and place your hands behind your back." Diana froze, hands still on the useless key. Marcus puffed himself up. "I'm HOA counsel," he protested. "This is a civil matter." Owens came up the steps. "Sir," he said evenly, "impersonating an attorney is a crime here. Unauthorized practice of law. Hands behind your back." The red key clattered against the threshold as it fell from Diana's hand. The sound echoed in a way only something that's finally over can. They cuffed them both on my porch while neighbors watched from their windows. Aaron read the charges. Owens collected evidence. The red key ring, the fraudulent compliance order, the fake briefcase with blank forms. Chain of custody documented, every step logged. The search team hit Diana's house that afternoon. They found what we suspected and more. Master key rings from multiple sections. Entry logs. Photo archives organized by address. Emails. Her personal journal. Meticulous entries about compliance reviews on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Details of residents' homes. Strategies to avoid getting caught. A database on her computer with scanned copies of medical papers, bank statements, private correspondence. She'd been photographing people's lives and using the details as weapons. Marcus Place gave up its own secrets, mock legal documents, emails advising Diana how to intimidate, pre-printed official notices that mimicked government forms. The county prosecutor took one look and told us this was the most comprehensive HOA criminal case the office had handled. 37 counts of criminal trespass based on documented entries. Burglary tools. Forgery for fake permits. Conspiracy with Marcus. Abuse of process. Malicious lien filings. Financial crimes for embezzled association funds and bribes. The list grew. Witnesses lined up. Rebecca organized statements like trial exhibits. Neighbors who once whispered, "Don't make waves," said, "Enough." The emergency HOA meeting that afternoon was nothing like Diana's stage-managed sessions. The office smelled like stale coffee and old carpet. Sun streamed through windows that hadn't seen glass cleaner since she took office. 60 residents crammed into a room built for 30. Rebecca sat at the front table with 2 newly elected board members, hands folded, a little pale, very determined. "First order of business," she said, voice steady. "The official removal of Diana Sloan from all HOA positions and a permanent ban from ever holding a role again." The vote was unanimous. 47 in favor, 0 opposed. Not even a polite abstention. "Second," she continued, rekeying every lock in the community at HOA expense. "Master construction keys will no longer work anywhere. All future access requires written consent witnessed and documented. No exceptions. Unanimous. Third," she said, "formation of a resident support program with funded counseling for those whose homes were illegally entered. Psychological harm is real. We pay for help." A murmur of gratitude rippled through the crowd. Owen stood and gave a legal update. The judge had denied bail. Search warrants had turned up master keys for every section. Over 100 homes accessible. Audio recording equipment suggested she'd recorded voices during some entries. The room gasped. The prosecutor had offered a plea to 10 felony counts, dropped the remaining 58, 5 years in state prison with 3 mandatory, 5 years probation, full restitution, permanent stay-away orders. Marcus would face his own deal, 2 years and a permanent ban from legal advising. Someone asked about civil damages. Rebecca held up a folder. Filed this morning, she said. Class action for invasion of privacy, emotional distress, punitive damages, attorney fees. Will seek full restitution. Her house, car, retirement. Everything is on the table for seizure. Over the next weeks, the legal machine did what it's supposed to do when it's fed facts. Diana stood before a judge in an orange jumpsuit and entered a guilty plea, eyes down, posture shrunken. She called it overzealous enforcement, as if she had spilled coffee on a rug. The court called it criminal trespass, burglary, forgery, and conspiracy. 5 years, 3 mandatory minimum, probation beyond that, restitution, permanent restraining orders. Marcus got 60 days, 2 years probation, fines, and a ban on ever pretending to be a lawyer again. The civil settlements followed. Diana's house was auctioned. Retirement accounts liquidated. The HOA's emergency fund paid for counseling and rekeying. Victims received checks between $15,000 and $30,000 each, depending on the number and severity of violations. Money doesn't make privacy feel unviolated, but it acknowledges harm and pays for security systems, therapy, new locks, and a few nights of sleep. 6 months after sentencing, we melted confiscated master keys in a public ceremony. Children poured the brass into molds, turning violation into art. We bolted the sculpture beside the clubhouse door and hung a wooden sign above it. Respect the door. The HOA became unrecognizable in the best way. Rebecca ran monthly transparency reports. Board meetings were live-streamed, minutes posted within 48 hours, budgets disclosed line by line. Background checks became standard for leadership. Quarterly legal trainings were mandatory. Residents, quiet, stubborn people like us, built a modern governance plan where accountability wasn't an afterthought. I turned down most media requests, but I wrote one piece as a journalist, an investigation into HOA power abuse, construction master key vulnerabilities, malicious lien tactics, and how communities can protect homeowner rights. It ran in a few outlets, and people reached out from other towns. Some asked how we reformed. Some wanted to know what law firm we used. Some just wanted to hear how we got our homes back. Years later, on the first real snowfall, I stood on the threshold where Diana's key once scraped and failed. Frost clung to the edges of the respect the door sign. Kids on their way to the bus tapped it for luck. It had become a landmark. Better that than the place where the HOA president was detained. Though, if we're honest, that's part of our story too. The spot where entitled authority met lawful accountability, where a community decided that bylaws don't beat rights, and keys aren't credentials for crime. Our cabin finally feels like what it was meant to be again, quiet, sturdy, private. New locks that click with a satisfying finality. A door app that buzzes only for expected footsteps. Security cameras that mostly record deer and raccoons. The builder's orientation binder sits on a shelf, page 17 dog-eared. The reset procedure circled in red. A little too late to spare us everything. Not too late to secure everything that comes next. Diana will serve her time. Maybe she'll learn that protecting property values never justifies walking through strangers' bedrooms. Maybe she won't. Marcus will keep paying restitution out a night shift paycheck, rebuilding a life in quiet. The HOA, once a weapon, is now a service. We went from residents ducking behind blinds to neighbors who show up, sign statements, testify, and elect people they trust. And me? I still write. And I still lock my door every time I come home. The click means more now. Not just locked. It means respected. It means mine. If you made it here, I want to know what you think. Was Diana delusional? Or did she know exactly what she was doing when she weaponized her position? What would you have done at your door with a red key twisting in your lock? Tell me in the comments. If this got you fired up about homeowner rights, privacy, and HOA accountability, hit like and share this story with someone who needs it. And if you want more true-to-life stories about standing your ground and protecting what matters, subscribe and turn on notifications. Your front door deserves respect. So do you?